decisions, great mound visits, great job not letting the best player beat you.
This one crushed, out to right field. And it's going to be out of here. Pennsylvania walk-off home run. Travis Gavonic sends him to Williamsport.
With the 37th pick of the 2023 MLB Draft, the Detroit Tigers select Kevin McGonigal, a shortstop from Monsignor Bonner High School, Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Bryce Harper. Suarez delivers. Swing and a drive. Left field. It's deep. It's gone. Yes! And it is gone!
Yes!
It is bedlam at the bank as Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, his 10th career home run in the postseason. And he may never hit a bigger one.
What is up, Delaware County, and welcome to my apartment here. Very, very, glamorous, luxurious studio.
The humble abode.
Yeah, the humble abode here. We're not going to say where it is, but unfortunately, it's not in Delaware County. Are we frauds?
No. I think
we're
so.
good.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
We spent the majority of our time there. I think we're good.
Yep. But welcome into the second annual All-Delco Baseball Teams and Awards. Brendan Ricciardi alongside Ben Thorpe here. Ben, another fantastic season for us. We saw a lot of growth with our team, having a bunch of great interns in. David Shapansky, Shelby Kaufman, alongside plenty others, Nikki Mozzarella. Really, really great team that we've added this year. A lot of great photographers, a lot of great writers. And it was really cool to be able to stream our game of the week for the first time as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think made a lot of great strides. We've found a lot of really cool things I think are going to work for us, especially the streaming stuff. Hopefully Dave stays around for a little bit. Dude's a superstar. But yeah, great year overall.
Well, if he doesn't stay around, we'll be able to watch him on ESPN.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So we got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be doing, like we did last year, we're going to be doing our awards. First team All-Delco. We'll talk a lot about those guys. We'll talk a little about the second team All-Delco guys as well. And then we'll get into the honorable mentions as well. But first, we just want to thank everyone for following along all season long. It's been a lot of fun to come on every week and just talk. We got a good summer planned. We got Little League stuff, Cal Ripken, getting a little older, Legion, Babe Ruth, and Ben as the reigning Delco League champion with the Upper Darby Blue Sox. We got a good summer coming there as well. And, the growth of the MSBL, the 25 and up league I play in, we got 10 teams here as well.
Yeah.
So good opportunity for guys
summer baseball.
that might have aged out a little of playing guys throwing 90 miles an hour at you, but still want to keep playing. So my advertising there that if you're watching this and you're out of college, don't think you quite have what it takes to compete in the Delco League still, but still want to keep playing, there's plenty of opportunities out there.
Senior Edco as well.
That's right. Edco is going on. I think that league's pretty big too.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
it's a decent, very good league.
Is that what the Expos are playing in?
Yeah,
right now,
that's what we're in. Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get rolling with our awards here. So before we say all the winners, we're going to rip through what our awards are. We got the Cy Young Award for Best Pitcher. We got the Offensive Player of the Year. We got the Breakout Player of the Year, one of my favorite awards. We got the Clutch Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Pitching Performance, like in one individual performance of the year. We got our Offensive Performance of the Year. We got our Game of the Year. That was a wild one. And, of course, the second ever Most Valuable Player Award. So let's start off with our Cy Young Award. This is a guy who's been starting since he was a freshman. He's really been the ace of his rotation since he was a freshman. And every season, the trajectory's just been going up and up. He was a second-team All-Delco selection last year. Finds his way as the Cy Young this year, and that'll be Radnor's Austin Havertine. 65 innings pitched. Ben, 113 strikeouts to 19 walks.
Yeah, that's quite the ratio.
That's outrageous. 0.86 ERA. He had a 16 strikeout game earlier in the year against Conestoga. Just the model of consistency. He's already Radnor's all-time leader in wins as a junior.
Yeah, I mean that's where he's been their guy since he was a freshman. Just a fantastic year this year. I think we went into 2025 with not really knowing who was going to win this award. A lot of fantastic candidates. But I really think he separated himself from everyone as the year went on. A fantastic year from him.
He had 31 more strikeouts than anyone in Delaware County. I believe Jimmy Boyle from Haverford was second. And he, just continued from the start to finish, just the model of consistency. Never really had any blow-up outings. I don't think he ever let up more than maybe 1 or 2 earned runs in any start. And last year's strikeout king was Luke Dancona from Strathaven, who had 93. So you have 20 more, than last year's leader as well. Just a dominant start to finish, and I'm excited to see what he can continue to do before he heads off to Lehigh next fall. All right, moving on here to our Offensive Player of the Year. This is a guy, the only qualified hitter in Delco to hit over 500. He had a 1302 OPS with 30 RBIs. That is Bonner outfielder Ryan Friel, another junior. We got a lot of juniors and sophomores taking home awards this year. We'll talk a little bit more later, a little foreshadowing there about what he was able to do in the playoffs. But the fact that, to go a whole season and hit over 500 is just ridiculous. And he was the heartbeat of this lineup, a lineup that has plenty of representation on our All-Delco teams. So to be able to show those numbers, how he separated himself even from his own team is incredible.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we saw him a bunch down the stretch this year, and he just absolutely mashed, man. I mean, it was really impressive to see. For any coaches that are watching, he is uncommitted, so you might want to contact him. But yeah, I mean, again, just really impressive year and just a heck of a hitter, man.
It's a big summer for the travel ball guys. We haven't really got too much into the travel ball world just because there's so much. There's so many levels. There's so many teams. They're not really playing close by, so we kind of just, if people tag us and stuff, we'll share it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to kind of keep track of everything there. But just an unbelievable season for Ryan. He was an honorable mention for All-Delco last year, and to see him step up when we talk about how Bonner lost nearly their entire starting lineup from last year. To be able to, they needed to have some of these guys step into stars, and that's what Ryan was able to do. So your Offensive Player of the Year, I guess we can really quick throw back to last year. Van Wilner was our Cy Young, and Bennett Cox from Marple Newtown was our Offensive Player of the Year as well. All right, let's move on here to the Breakout Player of the Year. This award last year was won by Haverford's Jimmy Boyle. This year we got a guy who did really well both at the plate and on the mound, and that is Garnet Valley's Ryan McGee. So we'll start off on the mound through 60 innings, which I don't know exactly, maybe second or third in Delco.
It's up
there.
there.
Very high up there with a 1.75 ERA. At the plate, he hit .380 with a .983 OPS while playing first base when he wasn't there. We've talked a lot about Garnet Valley, how they've been able to hit, but haven't had a guy step into that ace role in a little while, and he was everything they asked for.
Yeah, you saw the growth and the change of what you saw of this pitching staff from last year to this year, and I really think he was one of the main, if not the main reason for that. He came in, stepped in that ace role, and was reliable as almost anyone the entire year. I mean, we saw 60 innings pitched. He was going out, giving them long outings every game, and he did it at the plate too. He hit .380, played a really good first base for them. Really impressive job.
Good playoff start as well against Springford when they won their first round matchup as well. So congratulations to Ryan for being our second Breakout Player of the Year. Well, Ben, we kind of just talked about this guy here, but for anybody that's been following along, there's no surprise here. Our Clutch Player of the Year is going to be Ryan Friel as well. And, ideally we don't like to double down on awards, but when your guy hits .714 in the playoffs with a 1905 OPS, he had 21 plate appearances. He had 7 extra base hits. If you had 7 hits in 21 at-bats, that would be good. 7 extra base hits. He had a couple doubles. He had a triple. He had an inside-the-park homer at the game against Central, which was at LaSalle University. And then at LaSalle High School, man, I'll tell you what, if they were playing at Bonner, he might have had 3 homers that game. That field's massive, and he had a couple in the gap there. Just an unbelievable playoff run, especially, the PCL championship. Like, you think when you have a Clutch Player of the Year, last year it was Marple Newtown's Paul DeFrucio. So you're thinking you got to win something, to have that clutch pay off. So to be able to bring home that PCL championship, 5 playoff games, 3 hits in all 5 playoff games, 15 for 21.
Yeah, just ridiculous, man. There was really no other choice for this.
And that's not a shot at anybody.
No.
This
is just to how
it was the easiest no-brainer.
Yeah, he played unbelievable in the playoffs. They won the PCL out of the 6th seed. I don't know that a lot of people saw them doing that, especially with what we talked about with their loss from the lineup. And even in the state game, I mean, he dominated that game, and they unfortunately fell a little bit short. But yeah, one of the kind of an unforgettable playoff run, really.
And it just shows how much the playoffs can really skew things, because Michael Coleman was the PCL Offensive Player of the Year, and now Ryan's sitting here as our Offensive Player and Clutch Player of the Year. So just a ridiculous playoff tear. The Kelly Green jerseys that we're looking at here also have to add a couple points.
Of course, and
the
definitely.
helmets that they added for the playoffs,
yeah,
I don't think they wore.
They did a good job with those. They did a real good job with those.
Congrats to Ryan for taking home 2 awards this year. All right, moving on here to our Coach of the Year award. So last year, this was won by Haverford High's Brian Miller. This year, we're going with a guy who he doubled their amount of conference wins. They had 3 in 2024. 6 in 2025. They were the state runner-up. That's Episcopal's Tom Grandieri. And I think the main reason was that you look at what Episcopal was last year, 3-7, lost a ton of their offense, Alex Barris, Jack Herda, Tyler Beaulieu. They also lost Michael Schaefer as a pitcher to an injury, and Timmy Dennis was focusing on baseball. So you're losing... focusing on basketball when he's 6'8". I don't blame him for that.
It's going to play.
But, when you're losing a ton of your top offensive and pitching staff, and to be able to really turn things around, when we talked to him at the game of the week against the Haverford School, they switched dugouts because they wanted to change the vibes up a little bit on offense. And
it worked.
As we'll talk about with our All-Delco teams, it definitely worked. They had a lot of great offensive seasons, a great pitching staff, and I think just when you factor in expectations around where you thought, I thought they were going to get worse. I thought they were going to be worse than they were in 2024, just based on what they had to replace. And they obviously proved us wrong. 18-9-1 record overall. Just a really good season.
Yeah, I mean, and talking to him before the year, he was one of the, preview articles I did. And there were a lot of questions. And to be able to go in and kind of find answers to all of those, find, they had some pitching injuries. They were able to, Roman Notaro was a guy they kind of added in and did a fantastic job. But they were able to find, ways to plug the holes in the pitching staff, find ways to make up for what you lost in the offense and improve. I mean, their offense was night and day better. Just a really good job out of him to answer all the questions that they had before the year.
Yep, state championship appearance. They fell to Malvern Prep. Just a really, really good season. Also want to give a shout-out to 2 guys here that were very highly considered as well. Colin Quinn from Lower Merion, they lost their top 4 pitching guys from 2024, and they went even further than they did the year before. They won a playoff game against Stoga. Also, Dan Singley and Chichester taking down Strathaven in that playoff game. Those guys believed. He made them believe. Talking to him after that game of the week against Interborough, you could see why his guys play for him. So those are 2 guys we heavily considered as well. Just wanted to give them a shout out here. All right, let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. And I think this is a guy that a lot of people might not know too much about, because I think a good amount of the time Ridley DH for him, and that's Jaden Davis, the catcher Jaden Davis. It can be hard for us to pick a Defensive Player of the Year because we don't really get to watch a lot of them in person. We kind of just have to go off of the game changer stats, if we even get those defensive stats. But Jaden Davis, the sophomore catcher from Ridley, threw out 12 runners stealing. He threw out 35% of the runners that stole on him, which was easily the highest percentage.
Yeah, by far.
Because I think by the end, people just stopped testing him. I know that errors aren't really a great way to test a catcher, but he did have 0, and that does matter because anytime you overthrow someone on a steal and they advance, that's an error. Anytime someone bunts, you throw it away. Drop third strike, you throw it away. It's easy to get an error as a catcher. I know it's not the best stat to track them by, but it is possible.
Yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot of you're as a catcher, you're getting the ball so much
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for you to mess up.
Yep. Also picked a runner off. I don't know what base. It just said pick off here, and they had a pretty good pitching staff as well. So I think that based on all the information we're given, I feel like catchers don't get enough love in just in the world in general for what they do. So Jaden Davis is your defensive player of the year. That was Episcopal's Alex Barrist last year. Pitching performance of the year. Now we have to give 2 shout-outs to guys who threw no-hitters this year. And I know that sounds crazy that they're not the ones that win the award, but we'll give our reasoning. Jack Redding for Bonner, he threw a no-hitter early on against Father Judge. And Conestoga's Luke Hunter threw a no-hitter against Marple Newtown. So both of those guys, it's a very tough sell to not take home this award. But when we were both at this game watching what Haverford's Jimmy Boyle did against Radnor, this is a second year in a row, Haverford, because Will Hoffman threw a perfect game last year. So he was our winner last year. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, and 15 strikeouts. And the reason that we viewed this as the pitching performance of the year is the stakes. This we knew it at the time. This was basically as close as we would get to a Central League championship. Mm-hmm. We're working on our push to get a real Central League championship. But Haverford and Radnor both went into that game undefeated. It was Jimmy Boyle versus Havertine, our Cy Young winner. And, Jimmy Boyle was the best pitcher on the field that day. Just a marvelous performance, just really the definition of a big game pitcher, it feels like. As the stakes get higher, he just takes his game up. And to be able to go out there, it was cold. It was probably mid-30s, mid to high 30s that day with the wind too. And to be able to do that on that stage, it just felt like that was the best we saw any pitcher all year.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the biggest stages we had. That was our first ever 1 versus 2 matchup in the power rankings. Like you said, you really felt like the winner of that game was going to at least have a share of the Central League title. Ended up that they both got a share of it. And to go out and have 15 Ks in not great conditions, we had a couple no-hitters. That's obviously this one kind of felt like a no-brainer.
Yeah, and there was, I think the 2 hits, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were back-to-back at bats. Or at least in the same inning, like a hit and then someone got a hit to knock them in. But that felt like from start to finish our best pitching performance. All right, moving on to offensive performance of the year. I believe last year that was won by Pencrest Gavin Brown. He had 2 homers and a double. We're going with Jackson Messick from Sun Valley here. He had 2 home runs, a grand slam, and a 3-run homer, 7 RBIs in a win against Interboro. It wasn't the best of years for Sun Valley, but this right here, I know it's not technically a Del Val rivalry anymore because Sun Valley left, but when Sun Valley plays Interboro as well as Chichester, these games still feel like they're big time.
Yeah. There's definitely still some. I don't know if it's beef or whatever, but there's still some energy behind those games. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just an unbelievable performance. We had a couple 2-home run games. I think Jaden Rivera had a couple of 2-home run games.
Yeah.
Pat White, Luke Hunter had one. I think Toby Myers had one as well. If I'm not mistaken. I could have got that wrong. I think he did. But a couple 2-home run games with the 7 RBIs, believe was the most anyone had in a game this year. Mm-hmm. So congrats to Jackson for that. Game of the year. This one, it wasn't necessarily easy, because during the year there's so much that goes on a daily basis that we kind of forget what happened. So I kind of just went back through some of our game day scoreboard posts, and then I remember this one. So we're going another Ridley entrant here. We got Ridley 13, Lower Merion 12. Ridley scored 11 runs in the top of the 7th inning when I think they were already mathematically eliminated. If not, they were very close.
They were right on it.
Because it was their second to last game of the year. But this game just shows Ridley's grit because Lower Merion had something to play for. So Lower Merion led 10-2 going into the 7th. Ridley scored 11 runs, 0 extra base hits. They had 9 singles, had a couple walks, some errors in there. But also, Lower Merion scored 2 in the bottom of the 7th and left the bases loaded. So Lower Merion almost recovered from that. And that loss, that knocked Lower Merion out of the bye week. If they had won that game, I'm pretty sure they would have. I think they ended 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. I think there's a good chance that at the time they would have stayed in.
They would have been closer
in that top 8. They might have got that bye. So just an outstanding comeback there. Without a doubt, the most hectic last inning. I'm sure everybody not in that Ridley dugout thought the game was over already, but the tribe mentality,
fought to the end.
I believe the game of the week the game of the year, Ridley,
I think it was also Ridley.
It was Ridley 2 and Pencrest 1, where both pitchers threw 8 shutout innings.
I forgot. That was Gavin Brown and Kimmel, right?
Yeah, Chris Kimmel, yeah. So back-to-back wins for Ridley in the game of the year. The tribe mentality is never dead. All right, we have arrived at the Most Valuable Player award. Now, last year, it was pretty easy because Gavin Brown for Pencrest was a top 3 hitter and a top 3 pitcher. Mm-hmm. This one is a little more difficult because we had, in our eyes, a 2-horse race between Austin Havertine and Ryan Friel, and ultimately we decided that the pitching numbers from Austin Havertine were unlike anything else. So he's our 2025 Most Valuable Player. He joins Gavin Brown in that club, and I think the main thing that we kind of weighed was production of him versus the rest of the pitching, because it's kind of hard to pin hitting stats versus pitching.
Yeah, it really is.
Apples to oranges. But we just felt like when you look at those almost 100 more strikeouts than walks, the ERA under 1, the consistency from start to finish, just a ridiculous season. The district championship, Central League championship, just an outstanding year for him and a very deserving Most Valuable Player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan Friel, a very, very hard decision to go one way or another here. But the best part about this is that both of these guys are back next year. Yeah. Both these guys are back next year.
Maybe have another race for it.
We have a loaded junior class.
Yeah,
we got both of these guys. Daniel Kellis as well. We have other guys in the Bonner order. Jimmy Boyle will be back for Haverford next year. Just a really good. Obviously, there's a lot more than that, but just a really, really good junior class will be coming up. And unfortunately, we had some seniors injured this year. Corey Sheridan, Luke D'Ancona didn't get to pitch as much as we would have liked to see. Jimmy Boyle had a concussion, so we couldn't see him in the playoffs as well. But it's going to be a great race next year. But a very, very deserving Most Valuable Player. All right, now that we have our awards handed out, let's get going here with the first team All-Delco. Now, as some of you may have noticed last year, we've gone a little bit of a different direction than the way that the Delco Times does. No shade or anything there, just kind of how we view and how we think the best way to do it is. So a couple things that are a little different about ours. We have 2-way player spots. We believe that it's a great way to highlight guys that are doing it both on the mound and at the plate. It's a very difficult thing to do, especially at this level, so we felt like it's warranted to create spots for that specifically. We are aware that Lower Merion, Harriton, and Conestoga are not in Delco. You don't need to tell us. We understand. But the way we view it is that the Central League is basically, like, if you play for Lower Merion, you're playing 90% of your games against teams that fall in the Delco borders. So it only makes sense to us that you're that you're judged among those players. We have added coverage on teams like Devon Prep, Malvern Prep, Friends Central, a little Shipley, but the way we kind of view it is for the All-Delco teams, the All-Delco power rankings, it's Delco schools and Central League schools.
Yeah. I mean, these are kind of the core schools we've had from the beginning. Yeah. So
you got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Broomall's Johnny Dugan, great year for Devon Prep.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. So we got to give those guys shout outs, but just we got to stay firm in that. So with that being said, let's get started with the All-Delco first team. We'll start with our 2-way guys. Ben, we already talked about this guy a little with Ryan McGee, so we don't have to go too in-depth, but he makes his first team All-Delco appearance. Got a little taste of varsity baseball as a sophomore last year, through maybe like 10 or 11 innings, ERA in the 4s, but really broke out, very well deserving. Like we said, 1.75 ERA, also hit 380. Could have been a first-team All-Delco pitcher or corner infielder.
He had a shout for both of them.
Yeah, absolutely, very warranted to go in there. But since we've already talked a lot about him, we'll move on here to talk about a guy we briefly talked about when we mentioned his no-hitter. Conestoga's Luke Hunter, as a sophomore, finds his way onto the first-team All-Delco. I only have his pitching stats up here, so I'll get both. 42 innings pitched, 42.1. He had a 2.65 ERA. He also had 50 strikeouts. But I think that it was really his offense that got him on this list a little bit more than the pitching. He hit 400 this year in his 59 plate appearances. He had a 1.132 OPS, Another 2 home run game that I forgot about against the Haverford School. He drove in 16 runs. And, he was a candidate for the Breakout Player of the Year, but I think he played a little too well his freshman year.
Yeah.
Like we kind of already knew about him. So that's why he didn't, win that award. But just a monster season, and he's the face of this team for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
If he wasn't already this year.
Absolutely. I think he was this year. Obviously, like we said, breakout candidate. His main flaw in not winning that award was that we kind of already knew he was good.
As a freshman yeah.
But he was kind of Stoga's ace this year. Their best hitter, and did all that on a team that made it back to the playoffs for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, and he was a big part of that. 2021 was their last playoff appearance. Also, shout out to my guy, Anthony Greco, certainly in the Coach of the Year discussions after he got them back to the playoffs and gave us, without a doubt, the most electric coach interview of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, he could talk for hours, and I listened to him and Dave Shapansky. Talk about a high-energy combo there, for sure. But congrats to Luke, and excited to see what the next 2 years hold. All right, last on our first team All-Delco two-way players, we got a guy. We'll start with his offensive numbers here. Chichester's Cole Sanford. In 80 plate appearances, he hit .424. He had a 1092 OPS. He also drove in 15 runs. I would say his hitting numbers were slightly better than his pitching numbers, which were still good. That was a 2.72 ERA over 36 innings, 32 strikeouts, just 6 walks in 36 innings. He closed out the playoff win for Strathaven. He also had, I believe, a 2-run double, definitely a double. I think a 2-run double to kind of ice that game in the bottom of the 6th. Great season for Cole, and a great guy to represent Chichester. Feels like they had a ton of guys with great offensive seasons. We'll talk about them as we continue the teams, but he kind of felt like, their guy.
Yeah, it felt like they kind of went as he went in pretty much all of their games. We got to see him pitch a little bit in the game of the week against Interborough. Threw some big innings against Strathaven too, and played a huge role for them throughout the year.
First team all hair too.
Yes,
some great lettuce going.
Great.
If you're wondering, I did chop the flow. It was getting too hot. It was getting in my eyes. Like it got to be too much. It was time. But I'm glad I got it before that heat wave. Earlier this week. All right, let's move on to our catchers here. Now, as we mentioned, 25-man roster for all Delco teams. You got to have 3 catchers. You can never have too many catchers, and we have 3 on this list. So we're going to start off with a guy making his first team debut, Episcopal's Jake Verbitsky. His brother Kyle was, I believe, the player of the year when I was a senior in 2017. So he had 91 plate appearances. He hit .316, 900 OPS. He drove in 11 runs. Really, as we mentioned with Coach Grandieri, just a big part of that offensive turnaround. We needed some guys to kind of step up. We have some more guys that we'll talk about on these lists here. But, right in the middle of the order, I think the thing that's most impressive, we got a little JT Real Muto comp. He had 5 triples this year.
All right.
Showing
off the speed a little bit.
You know why? It's because Episcopal's field is so big.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get it anywhere to like left center, right center. That thing's rolling for 500 feet.
Yeah, man. Just a great season for Jake. He plays on my Delco League team for Wayne. He'll be headed to Lackawanna JUCO for his to continue his college career. We didn't have any college commitments for the first 3 first-team guys because they were all juniors.
Oh, yeah.
All juniors and sophomores for Luke Hunter. So none of those guys are committed yet.
Well, Havertine.
I meant for the first.
Oh, yes.
Are you spoiling that our MVP was first team All Delco?
Oh, no. Our MVP in Cy Young is first team.
Spoiler alert.
Who could have known that?
But, Jake will be heading to Lackawanna JUCO, which is not going to be a JUCO after next year.
They're moving to the PSAC.
Moving to the PSAC. Mark Zeppo from Garnet Valley, one of our interns, also plays there as well. So congrats to Jake. Moving on, people can call us biased because Pat White from the Haverford School was an intern, but he was second out of all catchers in OPS with 10-12. He hit .305. He was second in Delco with 5 home runs. Great season for Pat. Really kind of right in the middle of everything for that lineup. I think an honorable mention on our All-Delco teams last year. A bit of a down year overall for the Haverford School, but a great season behind the plate from Pat. Really just been an anchor behind the plate for the last 2 years since Mark Quattrani graduated, and he'll be heading to Rochester Institute of Technology. I hope you're ready for cold baseball, Pat.
Yeah, a little bit cold, a little bit of snow, but it's a great school, cool place. I think he'll love it.
Yeah, good writer too.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could add that on the graphic somewhere, but shout out to him and also Haverford School pitcher Connor Haney just for the work that they did for us this year. All right, last on our All-Delco catchers, we got our Delco Christian rep. That's Reed Darnold. Led all catchers with a .419 batting average in 77 plate appearances. Led all catchers in OPS with an 11.13. Also drove in 23 runs. Another good season for Delco Christian. They just had to run into the buzzsaw of two-time defending state champion Faith Christian
for the second year in a row.
Yeah,
now,
I work for the PA Baseball Coaches Association. I was in state college for all the state championships. Great program, great, very nice head coach over at Faith Christian. But the fact, Delco Christian, they've made the district championship. Last year they were 1A. This year they moved up to 2A, and Faith Christian also moved up to 2A. So they had to run into those guys again. But a good season for Reed. He will be heading to Thaddeus Stevens, which is one of the trade schools up in the Lancaster area.
Oh, nice. All right,
so I wonder if they play like Williamson.
I actually don't think they do.
It's a little far.
Yeah, I
probably the same. Is it NAIA? Is that what they are?
No, it's like it's a small school.
Okay,
or something
is it the
like
USCAA maybe? I don't know. It's hard. There's a lot of abbreviations.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
A lot of acronyms out there.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Great season. I want to say he might have been honorable mention last year. I'm going to look it up now because I like to be thorough here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he hit about 100 points higher than any other catcher in the county, though, which is pretty legit.
He was not, so a bit of a breakout year for Reed there for sure. All right, let's move on here. So the way we separate it is we go 3 corner infielders and 3 middle infielders. So we're going to start off with our first corner infielder here. We just recently learned how to pronounce this brutal last name. That's Radnor's Matt Shaholski. I think I was saying Zacholski all year.
Yeah.
Which, you know what, based on SZY, and I should have known with Shapansky.
Yeah.
That SZ. The Polish brothers over there. But yeah, Matt, great season for Matt. And I just want to say, I don't really know him personally that well, but just very proud of the guy. You missed your whole junior year with a torn ACL. Mm-hmm. Just to be able to come out, have this. First off, this statistical season, but also to go out, win the conference, win the district, has to be very rewarding for all those hours spent on the trainer's table, all the hours spent, running from cone to cone and in some athletic trainer's floor. 78 plate appearances. He hit 349, 1128 OPS. He had 3 homers, one of which was in his first playoff at bat in that win against Upper Perk. Matt will be he's going to try and do the Alex Pock. He's going to try and walk on to the Penn State varsity team. But I'll tell you what, those 3-time defending champion club baseball Nittany Lions are eager to take him if things don't work out.
I'm sure they would absolutely love to have him.
It's a Delco dynasty over there, man. I mean, we've talked about that enough, so I don't need to do my marketing spiel here. But just a great season for Matt. Really, he was the thump in this lineup.
Absolutely.
Thump. He was we need someone to clear the bases. He's the guy. All right, next up on the first team All-Delco corner infielders, a guy making his varsity debut this year. That's Bonner's Gavin Dorita over at first base. 84 plate appearances. He hit 352 with a 976 OPS. He drove in 20 runs, but none were bigger than the 3 runs he drove in with the first inning homer against LaSalle in the PCL semifinals. Still just a sophomore this year. And when we talked to Coach DeBarberry before the season, Gavin Dorita was one of the young guys he highlighted where he's like, these guys, it might take a little to mature over the season. And, his numbers probably halfway to, 2/3 of the way were fine. They were good. They were fine. Good. But as the playoffs went on, man, he stepped up. He had the big game against LaSalle. He almost won our player of the game in the PCL championship. We just ended up going with Mike Klowanski for the 6 shutout innings, but just a really strong season. And he's kind of taken over, in this new core for Bonner. We talked about how last year's core, Jackson Kehoe, Harry Carr, Austin Cannon, all those guys graduated. This is the start of the new core, and Gavin Dorita is going to be a big part of that first base core for the next 2 years.
Absolutely. He's kind of they retooled very well this year, and I think he was one of the crown jewels of that. Great year. We saw him early on and against Marple, and he only got better from there.
Yep.
Just a very, very deserving first team corner infield.
All right, as mentioned, Gavin Dorita was just a sophomore, so still uncommitted. We have another sophomore on this list here, and that's Haverford Public School Ford's Cam McCormick. In 78 plate appearances, he hit .323 with a .980 OPS. He hit 3 homers. Again, none bigger than a 3-run shot against Souderton in his first playoff at-bat of the year. Just a towering presence over there. Just unbelievable raw power. Like, we saw it after his freshman year, almost homering at the bank at the Carpenter Cup.
Yeah.
And you could just see, the frame that this guy has. He's going to be playing for a long time. And just that lefty swing, he's going to be one of the many returning Fords to this Haverford team next year. This team since 2023 is really just, they went from 6-10 to 10-6 to 15-1, and having Cam McCormick in the middle of all that has been very big for them. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see here. All right, that'll wrap up the corner infielders. Ben, I know this one put a smile on your face here. We'll start off for the second consecutive year in the middle infield. We're going with Cardinal O'Hare shortstop Brennan Till. In 74 plate appearances, he hit .414 with an 1178 OPS. He had 6 doubles on the year. I don't know why I put 6 doubles in the graphic. It's kind of random.
Yeah.
I guess it's just one of the stats that popped out. He homered in the game of the week against... I think it was against Carroll.
Yes.
Was the game that he homered in.
Wait.
Was it the Bonner one? We were there twice.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's all blending together.
Yeah.
I think he did it against Carroll.
I'm going to guess
I think it was Carroll.
But this dude, I would argue, if there was an award for who has the most fun playing baseball in Delco, it might be Brennan Till.
Might be him.
Seeing at the Carpenter Cup, this dude was having the time of his life playing at the bank. I'll tell you what, he was just beside himself. But he will be heading to the recently revived LaSalle University to continue his baseball career, as well as another guy on this list, spoiler alert. But I think that's a great fit for him because he'll get the chance to play right away. And we've seen that he can hit all levels of pitching. So just another remarkable year for him. And best of luck at LaSalle. All right, next up on this list here, we're going back to the Central League. Coming from Garnet Valley, it's Cole Lombardo. In 77 plate appearances, he hit .459. That might be maybe the second best average besides Friel. It's pretty close
up there
for qualified players. He had an 1146 OPS with 13 runs batted in. When you talk about Garnet Valley, when they had to lose, Chris Schaller had a knee injury and Brady Thompson missed a couple weeks with a hamstring injury, you needed some guys to be able to step up. And, we talked a little about Ryan McGee, but Cole Lombardo in that usual either second or lead off somewhere at the top of the order was just a consistent machine. In their playoff game, he reached base all 5 times in that win against Springford. Just a fantastic season. And again, still just a junior, uncommitted junior.
Got a lot of really good juniors, man. And yeah, a really good job from him to just step up. I mean, more than a good job. He had .459. But yeah, he's kind of been, I think, in the mix as one of the best infielders in the county. He stayed there. He stayed there this year, and I mean, sky's the limit for him next year.
Yep. All right, last of our middle infielders here. Ben, we got another one of your Delco League teammates here. We got Lower Merion's Gus Wright. In 77 plate appearances, he had a cool .333 with a 1097 OPS. He had 3 homers on the year. And, when we were looking at these stats, Lower Merion had a ton of guys that were, above average. Mm-hmm. But Gus Wright's numbers just kind of stood at the top. I think he was their leadoff hitter, too, as well.
I believe so, yeah.
So, he really looks like Sam. I haven't really seen too many pictures of him, but him and Sam, at least...
I don't think they look as alike.
You can tell they're brother. Maybe more... Maybe
yeah, I mean, you could tell.
Stature.
You could tell there's some sort of relation there, but I don't think they look that alike.
I guess I need to see them side by side. Maybe similar builds.
Nah, Sam's way taller.
I'm talking just face.
Oh, I got you.
We'll have to we'll go a little side by side here. Yeah. But yeah, great season for Gus. Lower Merion, when they returned a good amount of their offense, it was really the pitching that we weren't sure who was going to come back. But he really set the tone at the top, was a big part of everything for them. And Ben, I know you hate to hear this, but he's heading to Catholic University one of.
Jeez, man.
They're going to be by the time that
There's so many guys on the team at this point.
I think this season alone there might have been 5 or 6, but then you're adding Jack Mahalik from Marple. You're adding Charlie Belli, who didn't pitch for Harriton this year because of eligibility, but he's going there as well.
What did he do all year?
Probably just trained.
Yeah,
I
fair
guess. I think might be playing Delco League now, but just a great season for Gus. He's going to be missed at the top of that lineup for sure. All right, let's move on to our outfielders here. I think we've talked enough about Ryan Friel that we don't have to go too in depth.
He's on here
for him, but he is the first of our All-Delco outfielders. Again, 506 average. Believe his 30 RBIs led Delco. I don't think we mentioned that, but I don't think anybody else had quite that many.
I doubt it.
We'll keep looking here. Let's talk about Jaden Rivera. He's still just a junior this year, but his second consecutive selection, him and one other guy on this list could become 3-time first-team All-Delco. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But the Haverford School outfielder hit .333, 104 plate appearances. They play so many games over there.
They play like a college schedule over there.
They really do. 1285 OPS was second just to Ryan Friel. 12 home runs. Listen, people can get their jokes in about the size of the Haverford School field. With that being said, a lot of these are bombs.
You definitely got a couple of them.
Yeah, would he have gotten 12 on another field? Probably not, but he still would have led Delco, I would think. He still had a couple on the road, but just another fantastic season. Athletic freak, too. That guy can move out there in the outfield. Some school's going to get a great combo of power and speed for sure. Last year, I think he had 5 homers. This year, he had 12. So based on that, what's that trajectory here? We're thinking maybe 20 next year?
Yeah, maybe.
No pressure, Jaden. But you got to hit 20 homers for us to be able to say we were right. Just a fantastic season. One of our, I think, 2 Haverford School guys on this list. All right, well, let's go right down Lancaster Ave. We're going to Haverford Public School here. We're going with Ryan Cassidy, who was named first-team All-State by the Coaches Association. Real quick, I'll just mention Austin Havertine was first team for 5A. Teddy Monahan was second team for 5A. Jimmy Boyle was second team for 6A. There was a miscommunication. They actually forgot to add District 12.
That's crazy.
I think what happened was there was an all-star game that was seniors only, and I think some coaches just sent in stats for seniors, which is why Ryan Friel didn't get added. But they added Friel and Brendan Till, so congrats to those guys. Ryan Cassidy, at the top of the order for Haverford, was just fantastic. He hit .415. He had a 1223 OPS. He drove in 18 runs. Just really set the tone. I believe he was honorable mention last year. I'll just double check that real quick. He was honorable mention last season, but really everything started with him. He was great on the base paths, played a great outfield, and he is continuing the Haverford to Thomas Jefferson University pipeline. Will Hoffman's there now. Jimmy Boyle will go next year. I don't know how that pipeline started. Someone knows somebody.
Who knows? Yeah,
absolutely.
I have no idea.
I think just one of the best pure hitters we saw.
Yeah. It's, just a fantastic kind of leader of that lineup. I think we would talk a lot about Boyle and McCormick and a lot of those guys. He maybe didn't get as much love as you think from us, but I think so. He deserved way more than what we gave him. He had a fantastic year.
I think going into the season, I just thought he was going to be just another one of their good players. I didn't realize the kind of leap that he was going to take there. But a great season for Ryan, and best of luck in college. I feel like we haven't had many seniors.
It's been a pretty young team so far.
Well, here's another senior here. We're doubling up on our Bonner outfielders. The PCL Offensive Player of the Year is Michael Coleman. In 89 plate appearances, he hit .387 with a 1068 OPS. He drove in 16 runs. He also homered in that game of the week against O'Hara. Just a really strong season for the Gettysburg-bound outfielder. So Gettysburg isn't exactly right around the corner, but he'll play Swarthmore and Haverford and Ursinus.
He'll be back around here.
He'll still be back in the area for sure. It just shows the depth of the Bonner lineup that you have 2 outfielders from the same outfield showing up in the first team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we've said it a bunch on this show about how my voice keeps cracking, man. I don't know what's going on right now. But we've said a bunch on the show about how dominant that lineup was. He was a key piece to it out of, I think he was the 2-hitter maybe?
Somewhere up there.
Yeah.
I think it was Hernandez, then him, then Friel.
Yeah, that's a tough way to start a game, man. But yeah, just another great year, and he's going to go off to Gettysburg and hopefully do big things.
I think he will, because I think his swing will translate. All he does is hit line drives.
Yeah,
his home runs,
I think so too.
It's a tired cliche, but they're accidents, right? Like when he hits a home run, it's not because he's trying to. It's because he hits a line drive that just keeps carrying. But a fantastic season for Michael. We'll probably see him out in the Delco League this summer, I'd imagine.
I believe so. He's probably a Duck.
Yeah, if we had to guess. All right, actually, I'm sorry, we have two more. Two left on our first team All-Delco outfielders. This is a guy who got a little time as a sophomore, but not much. He really burst on the scene, and that's Reggie King, our second Episcopal mention of the first team. In 57 plate appearances, he hit .383 with a .988 OPS. He drove in 11 runs. I think a guy that took a little bit to earn his playing time. You see the plate appearances are a little bit lower, but I think if Coach Grandieri could do it again, he might have gave him more chances right at the beginning because he was awesome. He had a walk-off early on against Chestnut Hill. Just really, it felt like everything that this offense did, he was involved in some way.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And like you said, he earned his way into that lineup, and from there just excelled with every chance he got. If Ryan Friel didn't exist, I think he would be in there for Clutch Player of the Year with just the amount of big hits he had for them. But yeah, a well-deserving first-team outfielder.
And I think I saw a tweet that his dad put out that said "Return to the mound." Like I thought I saw a video of him pitching at like a showcase. Or something.
Right.
So maybe he like was hurt, or maybe just wants to be more of a. I don't know.
That could be fun.
I saw a video, so maybe a little two-way spot next year. Who knows? But congrats to Reggie, another junior, another uncommitted junior. So we'll see him out there next year. Last but not least, we have another senior. We got an outfielder, as mentioned, for the All-State. That's Teddy Monahan from Radnor. In 84 plate appearances, he hit .397 with a .956 OPS. He drove in 10 runs, but none bigger than the walk-off single to beat Upper Dublin in the district championship. Great quote. So I play a little bit for Wayne in the Delco League, mostly just when they need me. I usually just run the website, but I was there. Great quote from Austin Havertine. Teddy Monahan was our MVP. Very humble. Maybe meant offensive MVP, but he was the leader. I feel like we have a ton of leadoff hitters that we've had on this list. The RBIs aren't quite as prevalent for him. Just a great hitter. He will be heading to not Rochester Institute of Technology. He's heading to Rochester. I guess they probably play each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there like a rivalry there? I'm the D3 guy, so
I
would
Battle of Rochester. Bring your puffy jacket.
We're just going to say there is a rivalry. There's got to be.
You'd think that they'd have to be in the same conference.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I would guess. But
do you ever see the Accepted? It's got like the South Harmon and South Harmon Institute of Technology.
Of course.
It's the same idea.
Yeah. So congrats to Teddy. Best of luck in college as well. All right, and wrapping up our offense here, we got our designated hitter. That will be Haverford's Nick Elvanian. In 76 plate appearances, he hit .356. He had a .932 OPS with 16 RBIs. I'm going to guess another guy that was probably honorable mention for us last year. That would be correct. It kind of shows just the jump that the whole Haverford team made, where a lot of them went from good to very good to elite, and the record and the success showed. Is this a no batting gloves guy? Based on the picture,
nah, those are batting gloves.
Are they white?
Yeah, he's got white batting gloves.
Yeah, it was the way the sun was reflecting. We don't really have too many no batting gloves.
No, not a lot of.
No,
no batting gloves with a metal bat's tough. Though. Yeah, I feel like it's more of a wood bat type thing.
I just get blisters. The way I hold my bat, I just get too many blisters here. But yeah, Nick was usually, I think, their cleanup hitter, somewhere in the middle of the order, ready to go. He hit all year, and I know he's going to Penn State. I think he might be doing what Shaholsky is doing and trying to test your luck walking on. But I've already talked to him, and he knows the club coach as well, so he will be a good Penn State club baseball player if things don't work out. But I mean, I tell these guys go try and walk on. Why not? Why not? The worst thing that happens is they say no. There's no point of not trying. Penn State program heading in the right direction. How about Mike Anderson from Bonner heading to Penn State?
Get a little more Delco representation over there.
Absolutely. We'll see you in Omaha. All right, moving on to our first team All-Delco pitchers. We've talked about Austin Havertine, so again, we don't have to harp on that too much. I will say I'm not sure unless he does it next year, 113 strikeouts. I'm not sure when that's going to be passed. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a dominant year. I mean, maybe if anyone's going to do it, maybe him next year. But
I mean, him or Kellis absolutely could, but I think
Jimmy Boyle gets a lot of Ks too.
Absolutely. I think the thing that's going to be hardest is that ratio.
Yeah.
Someone could pass the
absolutely.
113, but can they do it with only 19 walks? That's going to be the big thing. But yeah, Delco's innings pitched leader is Austin Havertine. Let's move on here. First mention here, Mikey Klowanski from Bonner. He was a guy that, when Corey Sheridan was dealing with his injuries for most of the year, they needed someone to step up. Quick shout out to Danny Buckton as well for being great out of the bullpen. But Mikey Klowanski was fantastic. 46 innings pitched. He's not a strikeout pitcher. I think he had 36 strikeouts, but he just gets so much weak contact that he mixes it up well. 0.76 ERA led all of Delco this year. Just a really good season. He had, at least in the game we watched in the PCL championship, a great feel for the slider.
Yeah.
He could throw it at any
absolutely.
count. And while he isn't going to blow you away a lot of the time, not many people are going to square him up.
No. I mean, I feel like he's one of almost like the perfect blueprint for a successful pitcher. High school, especially like a successful pitcher in high school. Pound the zone, have good feel for multiple pitches, be able to throw them all for strikes, and guys are just going to struggle to hit you hard.
Yeah, and so he had 10 starts this year. In 9 of them, he let up 1 or 0 runs. Or earned runs, I should say. 1 or 0 earned runs. So just a fantastic season. Just a model of consistency for this Bonner team. And really, his 6 shutout innings in the PCL championship, was just the highlight of.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of sealed the deal with him being on this first team.
All right, as foreshadowed earlier, Jimmy Boyle making his second first-team All-Delco. Still just a junior. Also, real quick, Klowanski will be heading to Alvernia University with a couple of our local guys. Jimmy Boyle, just a junior this year. He had some tough luck. He had a concussion. He also missed a start due to an illness. Still finds himself on the first team, and that's because of 82 strikeouts in 46.2 innings.
That'll play.
Just the 13 walks with a 1.50 ERA. Obviously, we mentioned him with that start against Radnor, but he, if we started a Delco Baseball Sportsbook, which, if we were ever to do it, it would probably only be allowed for the Delco League because it's technically semi-pro.
And Little League.
We could become rich. We could become rich.
And Little League.
You're going to bribe little Timmy to throw his 12U district championship for $1,000.
Oh, geez, that's dark, man. That's real dark.
Yeah, but it's money in our pocket. Actually, unless they... No, that would be money out of our pocket.
Yeah.
People are throwing games.
Yeah.
Just steal it from the book. All right, don't do that. We'll talk. Anyway, just a great season for Jimmy. He's still got one more left. I got a feeling, knowing him, he's going to kind of view next year as a bit of like a revenge tour with the not being able to start in the playoffs, the splitting the Central League title, losing out on the major awards. But still a fantastic year for him. He'll be heading to Thomas Jefferson as well after next year. So just a very strong season for the Central League champ. Let's talk about another guy who I think very easily could have been in the Breakout Player of the Year conversation as well. That's Lower Merion's Brian Heck, 55 2/3 innings pitched. He had 71 strikeouts, which I believe was third behind just Boyle and Havertine, just based on my mental count. He had a 2.13 ERA. Ben, you told me about him last summer at a Legion game that you were at, and you're like, there's this kid Heck pitching for Narberth. We didn't know what school. I think we just assumed Harriton or Lower Merion.
Yeah, I think we eventually figured out it was Lower Merion, but yeah.
Do you know for a fact it was him and not Justin?
No. Actually...
I think you might have told me the name.
I think maybe, actually.
Yeah. We'll go back and check the receipts.
I think it was only... I don't even know that there was a Justin on that team. I think it was...
Okay.
I was just looking at their game changer, so I imagine it would have been...
Yeah. But yeah, he was definition of an ace for this team this year. The lefty kind of throws. My comp was Alex Wood, just a wonky lefty,
a little
not quite Chris Sale,
just a little weird.
Yeah, just a little herky jerky. Good word to pick up. But he was awesome. His best start of the year came in their playoff win against Conestoga. I think maybe 10 Ks. In a complete game effort. Again, another junior, uncommitted for now. Just a remarkable season. And when we talk about Lower Merion losing Van Wilner, Isaiah Negron, Justin Spiegler, Jack Scholes, not Ryan Scholes, Jack Scholes, they lost their top 4 arms. This guy came out of nowhere and just became the ace that they needed. So great season for Brian. Not be surprised if we see him back on here next year.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him from here on out.
All right, Gavin McClafferty from Haverford next up on the pitching list. You know, when you lose Will Hoffman last year, McClafferty was an honorable mention because he was a really good kind of third guy and reliever for them. Really flourished in that number 2 role. 48 innings, he had a 2.04 ERA, 46 strikeouts. Someone that I think wasn't really, say, a household name. You know, he wasn't committed to playing college. He's going to West Virginia. I texted Jimmy Boyle just because I'm like, hey, like, do you know if he wants to play club? He's like, I'm not sure, but like, if he wants to play, he'll play.
Yeah,
just
absolutely,
based on my club baseball knowledge, like if he wants to make that team, he'll make that team. So if he chooses to do that, I highly recommend playing club. But just a great season for him. He started the playoff game against Souderton through I think 4 or 5 solid innings there, and really a guy that I don't think we really had circled for being as elite as he was, and was a major reason that they were 15-1.
Yeah. I feel like we knew going into it that he was going to be
good. Not
I thought he was going to be good,
great,
but he went, I think, above and beyond anyone's expectation this year. To have a guy like that be your number 2, I mean, there's a good amount of teams in Delco that would probably die to have him as their ace, and have that as your number 2. I mean, it's a huge reason as to why they're 15-1, as to why they were as good as they were.
Yep. Well, speaking of guys that were kind of in the little 1A, 1B tandem here, our first team All-Delco pitcher is Bonner's Johnny Ortega. 45 innings pitched. He had 44 Ks at a 2.18 ERA. He had a couple complete games. He threw one against O'Hara in our game of the week. He threw a complete game shutout in that District 12 championship win against Central. He will be heading to LaSalle to play with Brendan Till, as we kind of mentioned earlier. There'll be someone else on this list here. I'm happy he found a good home because he's had a tough break.
Yeah,
he was committed to St. Joe's, decommitted, committed to Limestone. Then their whole university shut down, and then finds himself pitching for LaSalle. So I think it's a good fit for him, and kind of cool that in his start at LaSalle University, he threw a complete game shutout. On the mound, he will be.
Yeah, that's a good sign for that he's comfortable on that mound.
Yeah, I mean, as a pitcher,
actually, I think aren't they redoing the field?
I have no idea, honestly.
I think they might be.
I hope so. I almost died on those bleachers. Those bleachers are
places
terrifying.
Yeah, man, that's an interesting. The turf itself isn't the best either,
I've not been on that field. I'm talking like holding the railing as I'm going down the bleachers, just because.
Oh, dude, yeah, they're like you can kind of fall through them.
You can absolutely fall through them, and that would not have been good. But with that being said, congrats to Johnny and our All-Delco pitchers. That wraps up our first team All-Delco. So we're going to talk a little bit, not go quite as in depth on the second team and the honorable mention guys, just for the sake of time. But let's pull up the second team All-Delco selections here. All right, let's get started here with our second team All-Delco. As mentioned, we'll give some stats. We'll talk a little bit, but just for the sake of time, we don't have to go too in-depth about each guy. We'll start with our two-way players. We'll start off with Cardinal O'Hara's Jack Quinn. He threw 30 2/3 innings on the mound. He had 41 strikeouts and 21 walks, a 2.97 ERA. He threw really well in our first game of the week against Carroll. I think he had 10 strikeouts in that game. He also hit .356 with an .830 OPS and 14 RBIs. He's still just a junior as well. Seems to me like he would be a very good, very solid D3 guy.
Yeah, absolutely. We also found out he was Brendan Till's cousin.
Yeah,
at the one game.
I asked him, I'm like, how did it feel to steal that player of the game from Brendan Till? He's like, well, he's my cousin. I'm like, really?
He's like, yeah, fit pretty good. I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely a solid D3 guy. Maybe even more depending on how he develops over the summer and winter. But yeah, another junior that's we're excited to see where he goes.
All right, next up we got from Ridley, Jake Mansfield in 44 1/3 innings pitched. He had a 3.47 ERA. He also hit .322 with a 765 OPS and drove in 15 runs. Now, he's someone where I actually forget what class he's in. I thought he was
I believe he's a senior. I think he's a senior.
So let's see if I can find that just off. This is great podcasting right here.
Yeah, the little research.
That's a lot of random faces coming up. I gotta search Ridley. I can't even find what class he's in here. I think he's a senior.
I think he's a senior. I'm pretty sure he's a senior.
Well, this here says he was a senior in 2023.
Nice.
So I don't think that's going to be accurate.
Oh, the old super
We'll
senior.
go with senior here. A great season for Jake. Was really kind of their guy at the top of the
Mm-hmm.
rotation. All right, last but not least, we've got 3 J's. We've got a Jack, a Jake, and another Jack. It's Jack Redding from Bonner. He threw a no-hitter. He also had a 1.42 ERA in his 19.2 innings pitched. I think once Mikey Klowanski came back from his early season injury, I think Bonner's focus was getting Jack to play third base more than pitching. Did you
All
find
right.
something?
He's a junior.
Ridley 26. There we go. All right,
Another
we'll see you next
junior.
year. We'll see you next year. And he also hit 268 with an 859 OPS and 2 homers, though. So I feel like his average might have been a bit deceiving. That's why I love OPS, because it factors walks, it factors extra base hits. Jack is a senior. He will be heading to Holy Family in Philadelphia next season. All right, let's move on to our catchers here. This is a first-team guy last year. Zach Fine from Radnor finds himself on the second team. Finds himself.
Nice.
That's a good
Well
one. That's a
done.
good one.
Well done.
Finds himself on the second team in 75 plate appearances. He hit 323 with an 871 OPS. Just another really consistent bat for them with 12 RBIs. I believe he's going to Boston College. They have a solid club team. They gave us some good competition in regionals. So if he wants to play, I'm sure he could keep going there if he wanted to. But if not, just a great career for him. And also, for a guy who I'm pretty sure Matt Shaholsky was supposed to be their catcher these 2 years, but then when he got hurt, Zach Fine came in
just stepped right in
for the next 2 years and was a great piece of their core. So great career, ends with the district title. We had Thomas Flynn from O'Hara. A lot of best catcher in baseball comments for Thomas Flynn when we'd make O'Hara posts. He hit 295 this year in 52 plate appearances, 836 OPS. He's someone who I do not know what class he is in off the top of my head.
I believe he's younger. I think he's a junior.
Definitely not a senior. I don't think.
Yeah, it's not a senior.
Yeah.
I don't know what. He's either a junior or
So
sophomore.
he'll be back next year. O'Hara's got a couple arms. They got both Jack Quinn and Adam Schreiber coming back next year.
Oh, they're both back.
Yeah, they're both juniors.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
And wrapping up our All-Delco catchers, we got Chichester's Logan Worley, who also had a 2-run double in the playoff win versus Strathaven. 66 plate appearances. He hit 314 with a 910 OPS and 18 RBIs. I think there's another Worley on the team. I don't know if they're twins. But
There's another Worley. That was very confusing when you did any of the game changer stuff because it's just it's always L Worley and it's oh man, all right.
Yep. All right, moving on to the corner infielders here. Brody Slensky, for the second straight year, finds himself as a second-team All-Delco corner infielder. He hit 344 with a 909 OPS and 11 RBIs. I think he's a senior. Do you want to do our fact check where he's going? Because
I think he's a senior, but I don't remember him seeing he's committed anywhere.
No,
you couldn't. We were doing the because I think I did the preview for the playoff preview for Lower Marion, and you couldn't find any even.
Yeah, but if you open this and it says Penn State 29 right now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be thrilled. Just because anytime I see someone not committed, I just hope that they're going to a big school to play club. That's
always nice.
Seeing. I mean, we had our guys from Penn State win. We had Westchester lost in the national championship. Real quick, I gotta while you look that up. Westchester lost to a school called Wisconsin Lacrosse. How do you lose to a school called Lacrosse in the national championship? That's just a tough look.
Yeah, I mean, the Wisconsin Lacrosse is actually really good at baseball, though.
To lacrosse.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, he is so Brody Slensky is a senior, but there's nothing as to where he's committed. He says he's uncommitted.
I would just go for the Instagram bios if I.
Yeah, that's good. I don't have the Instagram bio.
College of Charleston.
Ooh, fun.
Enjoy the weather.
That's going to be a good time down there.
All right, next up on our All-Delco second-team corner infielders, we got Alex Kester from Chichester. Hit 379 with an 1109 OPS, 24 RBIs for the Birds this year.
Right.
Really strong season for the Eagles, who I think, it's funny when you talk about how a 1 seed in the playoffs beating a 9 seed was an upset, but that was an upset. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
nobody expected that to happen outside of the Chichester world.
Yeah, and that's to an outsider, we'd have to go pretty deep into explaining why that is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. All right, wrapping up the corner infielders, we got Haverford Sam Sturman. Hit 353 with a 966 OPS in 60 plate appearances. Definitely could have had all these guys could have been first teamers. They all had really good corner infield seasons with 14 RBIs. Also have to give a shout out to Sam because when Haverford catcher Owen Fleischauer got hurt, he moved behind the plate. And I've seen him chuck on the mound a little bit too. Maybe they just didn't need him much this year, but this Haverford team is just going to be just as good next year too. So a great season for Sam. We'll see what position he's at next year as well. All right, moving on. We had a bunch of great middle infield.
Yeah, really good year for middle infield.
I think we genuinely had 6 guys that could have been first-team guys. So we'll start off with Nicky Vani from the Haverford School. I think a sophomore this year. Definitely not a senior. I'm pretty sure a sophomore. 91 plate appearances. He hit 343 with a 1026 OPS. I want to say 3 homers, but had 12 RBIs as well. I think he was mostly playing second with Zach Fuscaldo playing short. Just a really strong season for him. And, a part of, we kind of called this, a bit of a rebuild year for the Haverford School, but the young core that they have, you got the Lawlers, Jaden Rivera, Nicky Vani. These guys, I think next year they're going to expect to be.
They're gonna be pretty good next year. That's for sure.
All right, moving on. We got a junior shortstop from Bonner. It's Sergio Hernandez, the leadoff hitter for the Friars. In 83 plate appearances, he hit a cool 361 with an 899 OPS and 11 RBIs. His job, get on base and let the big boys drive you in, and he did a great job at that. Another guy who, Bonner early on was just crushed with the injury bug. When we covered that game of the week against Marple, he was out, Klowanski was out, Sheridan was out. They were just running on fumes at that point.
Yeah.
But to be able to get him back really set the tone at the top of the order, and another guy who don't expect to see uncommitted by the fall.
I fully agree with that. I mean, really huge year from him. I feel like he's gotten better every year he stepped out there. So, yeah, another guy who I'm sure we'll have by this time next year we'll have somewhere pretty good to go play.
All right, wrapping up the middle infielder, we got Chichester's been dominating the second team so far. Zach Murray in 80 plate appearances, he hit 441 with an 1155 OPS. He drove in 20 runs. I think he was a player of the week at one point.
I think he was too.
I don't remember the exact
early
stats,
on, maybe.
Fairly
he
early
might have been
on.
player of the week.
He was a player of the week because I remember I couldn't find a picture of him, and I was trying to get our guy Dylan Johnson to find me a picture of him, which we ultimately did. But yeah, just a really loaded middle infield core, and when it comes to making these first and second teams, a lot of stuff gets weighed in. We weigh in stadiums, we weigh in conferences, just kind of trying to find the best balance. But all 3 of these guys had great seasons for sure.
Yeah, it can be tough to pick between a lot of these guys.
All right, moving on to the outfielders here. For the second straight year, Conestoga's James Queasy enters the picture. 64 plate appearances. He hit 358 with a 1054 OPS. The 6 RBIs, I think he was their leadoff hitter, so it makes sense. You're not having too many of the runs driven in. But James will be heading, I want to say Penn State Harrisburg?
Yes, Penn State
Not
Harrisburg.
Abington?
No, Harrisburg.
Okay, Harrisburg. Just a fantastic season for Stoga. Another big piece of their puzzle of getting back on track in the District 1 picture. Next up, from Chichester, we got Evan Valentine, who I think really snuck on in terms of when you looked at the end of the season stats, you're like, wow, I didn't realize. In 62 plate appearances, he hit 429 with a 1400 OPS. He drove in 18 runs. I think he was their typical 5 hitter. I'm pretty sure. Another one that was really tough to leave out of the first team outfielders, but just a fantastic season. I guess officially the OPS leader in terms of qualified players.
Yeah,
I guess, right?
That would make sense.
Spencer Shue from Episcopal, our third pick here. I knew that we had to get either him or Reggie King on the list. He hit 358 with an 849 OPS and 16 RBIs. Just talk about one of the best pure bat-to-ball hitters, spreading the field. Just a really strong guy. He's a junior, so he'll be back next year as well. Got a brother named Baxter. Great name. I think I've mentioned that on the show before.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have. It's
a
fantastic name.
Next up for the outfielders from Lower Merion, it's Charlie Parsons, big High Sox guy. I don't know if that adds a couple points don't see too many high Sox guys these days.
Yeah, I think if you're good with high Sox,
Correct.
I think it adds
Correct.
something.
You got to have the calves for it. I didn't have the calves for it. He hit 321 with a 10-14 OPS. He drove in 17 runs. I think when David Shapansky talked to Lower Merion coach Colin Quinn before the game of the week, he kind of mentioned how he basically told Charlie, like, there's not really a spot for you. I think he's a sophomore. There's not really a spot for you. And he's basically like, I'll work for it. I'll earn it. Like, I'll work my way in. And he absolutely worked his way in.
Yeah, man, did that and then some.
Yep. Next up from Harriton, we have Kolchad Kowski. He hit in 49 plate appearances. He hit 455 with an 1169 OPS and 11 runs batted in. I believe he's a senior. I want to say he's going to a big name school. I want to say maybe like Clemson or something. Somewhere where if he wants to play club, he should be able to find his way on. Auburn. Auburn.
All right.
They have a solid club team as well. I knew it was one of the big name college football type schools. Great season for Cole. I think he was another guy who could have used some more plate appearances to get on the first team when there's guys with like 80, 90, 100. In the small sample size.
It's a little tough,
yeah. All right, wrapping up our outfielders here, we have Ridley's Bobby Doherty. 77 plate appearances. He hit 317, 971 OPS. He drove in 11 runs. Ben, he won't be going too far. He's going right down the blue route to Widener.
Yeah, and that's actually faced him in the Delco League a couple weeks ago. He's a really good hitter, man. So I think from what I saw, a lot of it's going to translate pretty well to the college game, and I'm excited to see what he does next.
I need to get back in Delco League shape so I can face the guys that.
Yeah, see,
problem is
face the guys we talk about all the time.
I gotta join a bad team just to get more reps. I should join the Outsiders. Just that'd be good for content.
No shade.
No
shade.
I don't have a fence in right field. I don't want to leg out.
Dude, you just gotta be an oppo guy.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I roll over to second too much. Maybe it'll help me be an oppo.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, wrapping up our hitters for the second team here. Now, this was a guy who, again, didn't really get too many opportunities early, but really parlayed that into success when he did. One of my favorite names in Delco baseball, Atticus Bean, coming out of Strathaven. 34 plate appearances, but he hit 400 in those with a 1071 OPS. He hit a homer against Upper Darby. I think a guy that I think he would have kept this production up should he have gotten earlier playing time, but a guy that for a Strathaven team that looks like they're going to be in a bit of a retool next year, he's going to be a big part of the lineup.
Yeah, he'll be a big part for that. That's definitely, I think for him the best is yet to come.
Mm-hmm. All right, wrapping up our second team with our pitchers here. We got the second of the twins, Justin Heck from Lower Merion, 37 and a third innings pitch. He had a 1.13 ERA, 33 Ks and 12 walks. That's going to be probably, I would say, outside of Havertine and Kellis and maybe Boyle and Lucas Rothstein, one of the top 1-2 combos in the Central League
absolutely.
In terms of pitching next year. Great season for him. We got to see him against Conestoga in that game of the week, so we got to get a little taste of what's to come there. Moving on, we got our duo here. We got Daniel Kellis and Ryan McWilliams from Radnor, because it felt like the way Radnor kind of approached it was a lot of the times Austin Havertine would just go out and throw all 7, and then Kellis and McWilliams would either alternate, maybe go like 3 or 4 innings each. We'll start with Kellis here, 34 and a third innings pitched, just a 2.02 ERA. He had 49 Ks to just 19 walks. Still just a junior this year. He is currently committed to Penn. McWilliams, similar numbers, 35 innings pitched, a 1.4 ERA, the same exact amount of strikeouts with 49. He will be heading to Kenyon College, a Division III school in Ohio. Don't know too much about Kenyon.
We used to play them down in Florida all the time.
Oh, yeah?
They're actually pretty good. I think they're in a really tough conference, and they get to do, I think their Florida trips do 2 weeks or so long. Like they're hanging down there for forever. It's sick.
Would you want to go back to Ohio?
Nah.
No, yeah.
Not at all.
All right, next up on the list from Harriton, we got Sam Bonenkamp, 43 and 2/3 innings pitched. He had a 1.76 ERA, 60 Ks to 13 walks. Definitely a tough cut from the first team for us. Really strong season for the Rams. Helped them get a couple wins. For a struggling Rams team, really kept them in a lot of games. I think he might be the one. I can't get out of my head. I looked up someone.
There's someone going to Clemson.
Someone's going to Clemson. I don't know who it is, but someone's going to Clemson. I need to figure out who it is. No, he's still a junior. So we'll have
all
him
right,
back
he's
next
back.
year. I'm losing my mind here. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we've lost the plot
maybe
here a
just
little
making this
bit.
up,
This
yeah.
is
But all right,
going
moving
off
on
the
here
rails.
from Episcopal, we have Hunter West. He threw as just a sophomore 45 innings with a 2.8 ERA. He had 43 strikeouts to 25 walks. We saw him look outstanding in that game of the week win over the Haverford School. Great interview as well. One of the most promising pitching prospects in Delco as well.
Definitely.
Still with 2 more years to go. And you can just see, I feel like every time I see him, he gets taller, he gets stronger. So the potential
big
there
kid.
is very massive. And wrapping up our second team, All-Delco, coming from Marple Newtown, we got Jack Mahalik, honorable mention last year in 43 1/3 innings pitched. He had a 2.59 ERA, 41 Ks, just the 13 walks. And Ben, Catholic Cardinal.
Yeah. That's I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like coming like in the next few years when Catholic has 15 dudes from Delco. Like I want them all to do well, but I don't know what to say.
It's so odd because Catholic's in D.C. Like it's not like they're right around the corner and they're just stealing the guys from you.
Yeah, just found a pipeline.
I guess. Ross Natoli just getting it done, and I think it's Sammy Berman recruiting these
yeah,
guys.
honestly, I think there's a lot.
Telling him you gotta get this guy, you gotta get this guy. I love it.
That'll be cool. It's gonna be fun to see like all those guys down there and see how they do.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
All right, so real quick before we do the honorable mention, I'm just gonna read straight through our first team, our second team, and our honorable mention as well. So just a refresher for the first team: 2-way guys from Garnet Valley, Ryan McGee; from Conestoga, Luke Hunter; from Chichester, Cole Sanford. Our catchers from Episcopal, Jake Verbitsky; from the Haverford School, Pat White; from Delco Christian, Reed Darnall. Corner infielders from Bonner, Gavin Dorita; from Radnor, Matt Shaholski; and from Haverford, Cam McCormick. The middle infielders from O'Hara, Brendan Till; from Garnet Valley, Cole Lombardo; and from Lower Marion, Gus Wright. Our first team outfielders from Bonner, Ryan Friel; from the Haverford School, Jaden Rivera; from Haverford, Ryan Cassidy; from Bonner, Michael Coleman; from Episcopal, Reggie King; and from Radnor, Teddy Monahan. Our designated hitter from Haverford, Nick Alvanian. Our pitchers from Radnor, Austin Havertine; from Bonner, Mikey Klawanski; from Haverford, Jimmy Boyle; from Lower Marion, Brian Heck; from Haverford, Gavin McClafferty; and from Bonner, Johnny Ortega. For our second team, from O'Hara, Jack Quinn; from Ridley, Jake Mansfield; and from Bonner, Jack Redding. Our catchers from Radnor, Zach Fine; from Chichester, Logan Worley; and from O'Hara, Thomas Flynn. Our corner infielders from Chichester, Alex Kester; from Lower Marion, Brody Slensky; and from Haverford, Sam Sturman. Our middle infielder from Bonner, Sergio Hernandez; from Chichester, Zach Murray; and from the Haverford School, Nick Ivani. Our outfielders from Chichester, Evan Valentine; from Episcopal, Spencer Shue; from Lower Marion, Charlie Parsons; from Conestoga, James Queasy; from Hareton, Colt Shodkowski; and from Ridley, Bobby Doherty. Our designated hitter from Strathaven, Atticus Bean. Pitchers from Hareton, Sam Bonenkamp; from Lower Marion, Justin Heck; from Episcopal, Hunter West; from Radnor, Ryan McWilliams and Daniel Kellis; and from Marple Newtown, Jack Mahalik. And now our honorable mention All-Delco selections. I think based on recent history, I think we could see a lot of these guys joining the first and second teams next year, just based on how many we had do that this year. From Bonner, Danny Buckton, Owen Lockhart, Cole Romano, and Corey Sheridan, who actually swung the bat really well this year from when he was.
He had a really good. He swung it well in the PCL chip, didn't he?
I think in the Judge game, in one of the games, he had like a double down the line in the Central game. For Carroll, Matt McGoy, Nick Gilroy, Drew Mulligan, and Dan McNally. From Chester, Jacoby Roman, Jorge Nunez, and Jonathan Quiros. From Chichester, Gavin Derrickson, Matt Johansson, and Trevor Goschler. From Conestoga, Henry Fuerst, Cooper Evers, Josh Lee, Max Brown, and Chase Rantanen. From Delco Christian, Bo Lyron, Josiah Lyron, Sam Dixon, and Mateo DeBellis. From Episcopal, Roman Notaro, Logan Carell, and Dylan Walls. From Garnet Valley, Dylan Orr, Chris Schaller, Brady Thompson, and Nolan Carroll. From Hareton, Will Gallagher and Bryce Siegel. From Haverford, Lucas Rothstein, Rocco Keller, Shane Durkin, and Ben Ishmael. From Interborough, Mike McLaughlin, Austin Dean, Evan Thomas, Andrew Barbera, Scott Polachuk, and Tyler Green. From Lower Merion, Calvin Rendell, Nick Draggett, and Toby Myers. From Marple Newtown, Kevin Wygo and Jake Gorman. From O'Hara, Jack Coleman, Sean Vaughn, best name in Delco, Sean McGillivary, and Jay Campuzano, the leader of the bench mob. From Pencrest, Liam Ray, Connor Finan, Henry Murphy, Anthony Rossi, and Nash Grant. From Radnor, Joe Krasowski, Kyle Miltonberger, and I lost my place, Will Selbach. From Ridley, Brendan Soper, another Brendan added on, big for the brand. John Tian and Jaden Davis. From Springfield, Jack Ray and Denny Monastra. From Strathaven, Ben Milligan, Luke Dancona, who also swung it pretty well with his injury.
Maybe go two-way.
Maybe go two-way. Maybe go two-way to Boston College. Jasper Halls and Caden Schuster. From Sun Valley, Jackson Messick and Logan Coleman. From the Haverford School, Jacob Horwitz, Thomas Lawler, Zach Lawler, and Zach Fuscaldo. And wrapping it up from Upper Darby, Pat Callahan and Nate O'Donnell. It's a lot of names we just read. But all these guys deserved everything, for all the hard work they put in all season long. These guys deserve to be recognized. That's what we're here for. For Ben and myself, for everyone that tuned in throughout this whole high school season, we really enjoyed, getting to do our game of the week once again, getting to stream it. From all the players, coaches, fans, parents that we met along the way, we really enjoyed getting to meet all of you. We hope this is just the beginning. Make sure to stay tuned for our Little League, Cal Ripken, Babe Ruth, Delco League, Legion, all the different summer ball stuff that we have planned as well. And Ben, maybe someday we could have this award show at in
Something
person,
cool.
like a banquet.
Do a little.
I feel like the Drexel Brook is the most Delco.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Maybe
actually.
like a restaurant, like PJ's or something. Where people could come out and get their awards officially.
That'd be sick.
But as always, thank you for tuning in. This officially puts an end to our high school coverage for the season, but the show will still be back in action. We kind of just needed a little decompression, for in between. Also, we were just busy with the Carpenter Cup stuff and just wrapping up the whole high school season with the state championships. But we'll be back in action, interviewing some kids that are way more adorable than these guys after these Little League district tournaments. But on behalf of Ben Thorpe, myself, Brendan Ricciardi, we thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys soon.